Hello, I'm here today with Professor Savita Shankar. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming today. For our viewers, please introduce yourself.
First of all, it's a pleasure to meet you, Zahra. I'm Savita Shankar, and I am a lecturer at the Rutgers University's Blaustein School of Public Policy in USA. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been researching financial inclusion-related issues for many years now. Globally, there are about more than 1 billion people who are excluded from the financial system, and that's what my research focuses on.
You have conducted some important research into digitalization, the tea gardens, specifically in India, in the Assam region. What is the experience of women tea pickers in Assam?
Yeah, so women tea pickers are typically paid in cash, so on a weekly basis. And, on a particular day in the week, the plantations disburse cash to the tea workers. And on that day, there is a market that's set up where they can spend their earnings. And because everything is in cash, often what happens is that all the amounts that they receive get spent in the markets. And as a result, they're not able to save for emergencies, which makes them dependent on money lenders when there are emergencies or life events. And often these money lenders charge them extremely high interest rates. It could be as high as 10 to 20% per month. So, this is how, tea workers in Assam are paid in cash, which results in them not having sufficient avenues to save their earnings.
Yes, and without the savings, they are unable to save to buy a plot of land or their own home, and they currently are dependent on the homes that are in the estates which they don't own.
And this, of course, affects their autonomy, and they do not have access to their earnings often, because even if they have access to their earnings, cash is easily lost or taken away, even sometimes by people in their own household. So this is the issue that, needs to be addressed.
And how do you think that setting up bank accounts will help to support women in the tea industry?
By having bank accounts, it becomes easier for them to put away a part of their earnings for emergencies. And this would definitely contribute to their independence and self-reliance. It could result in them being able to have an asset in their name. And eventually, it could also lead to them having like a track record in the financial system and access to loans to diversify their income sources. And it also helps them develop their financial literacy, and this could lead to greater awareness about other financial products like insurance, which could help them manage risks. But before that happens, there are barriers relating to access to mobile phones and other digital payment methods that need to be overcome. And also constraints of digital and financial literacy, because these tea workers are largely illiterate. So there are issues in helping them develop their digital and financial literacy skills.
Could you talk a little bit more about the barriers that they're currently facing when it comes to digitalization and financial knowledge?
Because of the constraints that they face, they live in remote areas close to the plantations. It is often difficult for them to access bank branches, or, there are very few ATMs because it's not very viable for banks to have ATMs in those areas. Often only the younger members of their families have mobile phones. So these are the constraints. And also, if they are paid digitally, it's difficult for them to withdraw their savings or their earnings rather, in the absence of these avenues, because paying directly digitally is also not universally available, though there are, vendors who accept QR code-based payment methods, but it's not universally available. So there are barriers that need to be addressed.
I see how a lot of these areas are very rural, and so internet connection could be difficult.
Definitely, that's an issue as well.
From your research, you've made some really strong recommendations on how to help with widening the financial inclusion and bringing digitalization into payment methods for tea workers. Would you be able to explain some of those recommendations for us?
Sure. Yeah, tea plantations need to carefully craft this shift to digital payments based on their own, local infrastructure and the constraints, in their location. And based on that, they need to first build up awareness among tea workers about the benefits of digitalization and opening bank accounts. Then they need to make a concerted effort to help them actually register for these services, like, if required, help them obtain a national ID. And then, in a phased manner, introduce digital payments. Perhaps they can start by opening bank accounts and setting aside a part of their earnings into the bank accounts and pay the rest by cash, and then eventually increasing that percentage. But it's important that they kind of make the whole process very transparent and, handhold the workers as they move towards digital payments.
And that's where workshops and community engagement will be very important.
True, yes. It's, it's important to use some innovative methods such as video clips to help develop the basic, digital and financial literacy skills for these tea workers.
And finally, in your research, did you discover any gardens that were fully digitalized?
Yeah, so it might not be possible to go fully digital immediately, and it's more practical, to go in a phased manner and start with digitizing the irregular kind of payments, such as like the bonus payment or the retirement benefits, and eventually move to digitizing the wages. And there are examples from Assam itself where there is progress that's been made in this regard. And yeah, those are examples that need to be emulated by the other plantations as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking this deep dive into digital payments and explaining really what's happening a bit more around tea workers and payments.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for inviting me to your office.